Good Sunday morning, everybody, and welcome to our first week of our third module. Again, I don't know why I use modules. It's just I believe, the fifth week of class. But that is how Edgewood does things, so I call it a module. So this week, first of all, let me tell you that it was great to get to know you. It was great to hear from you. I hope that you had found it valuable to talk to each other about your projects. As I said yesterday, the more you talk about it, the more you refine your thinking about it, the easier it is to write about it, and vice versa. The more you write about it, the easier it is to explain to other people. That's why if you go to a conference, sometimes they only give you 15 minutes to share your research because you have to be refined, you have to be pithy. And writing a dissertation and going through that thinking process is helping you learn how to be more pithy, strangely enough, by writing hundreds of pages. But, that's how it goes. So this week, I know some of you aren't ready for this or aren't thinking about this, but that's what this week is on our schedule. So we are going to be talking about the methods chapter and thinking about your methods chapter. Some of you have already been writing your methods chapter. That's great. If this is too early in your process, come back to this, especially the weekly mini lesson, the purpose of a dissertation, methods dissertation chapter, and watch it or use this module when you are ready for it. I really want you to be thinking about these modules, these tips and tricks, as a toolbox or tools that you can add to your writer's toolbox that you can access when you are ready and you're thinking about these things more clearly. So if you're not going through this course as linearly as the syllabus is laid out, that's okay, as we've talked about before. So this week, along with learning about your the methods chapter a little bit more, in the next few weeks, what I'd like you to do is do some resource gathering. Now, I know that if you are taking Dr. Banks' course, you are already doing some resource gathering, but this time I want you to do some resource gathering around chapter 3. So resource gathering might be that you are actually finding folks that are you've already landed on a method and you're finding folks that explain your method. Maybe you're using Creswell to explain a research book that you may have to explain your qualitative method, or perhaps you are talking a little bit more about how you set up an intervention or an experiment, and that you have mixed methods, or how you are analyzing your data. However you're doing it, somebody has validated and done that type of work before, and that's what you're going to be looking at. Because in your methods chapter, you have to justify every decision you've made in your research process. And you can justify it through the way you talk about it and aligning it with your research questions, but you also need to justify it by saying somebody's done this method before and they've proven it to be reliable and valid. Let's not go into that too deeply at the weekly review. The other thing I want you to consider, if you haven't done so, if you haven't landed on a either a qualitative or quantitative method or a mixed method, and you need to talk about it or figure out what you're going to do, Edgewood has some great resources. You can make an appointment with Dr. Lee, who is really great with the statistics. She's the quantitative faculty. You can schedule an appointment with Dr. Brown or Dr. Audi, who are both can do advanced qualitative methods. You can talk about it with me as well. I'm not going to have the same background that they do, but I have enough in my back pocket to be able to guide you in the right direction. And Dr. Youngblood is new faculty, and she does both qualitative and quantitative, and she was also a superintendent, so she could be somebody fun to talk to as well. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do, along with gathering those resources, is I want you to find one article or one dissertation chapter 3 that reflects maybe what you want to do. Maybe it's the same method you're going to use. Maybe it's the same type of research problem that they are looking at, and you're kind of like, hey, let's see what that method they used. And what I'd like you to do is read through that and add in our discussion for this week, our journal for this week, what that article is, so cite it in APA, and then add a short description of what you discovered from their methods section. It might be useful to say this is their research question and this is the method they used, or it might be useful to say this is their theoretical framework and this is the method they used. Either of those types of description are fine. But I'll leave that up to you. That's going to be due on March 4th, so if you don't get it done this week, it's not a big deal. I just would like you to start thinking about it this week. That's a little bit different from what it says on our syllabus. On our syllabus, it said I'd add a Google Doc for you to add your citations to. Rather than doing that for just 6 of us, I thought it'd be easier to just put it in our discussion board instead of our journaling for this week. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you have a great week. As always, reach out. Make sure you've signed up for a time to meet with me and talk about your writing. And with that, I'll leave you to it.